My name is Tyler. I'm 14 years old, and I live in a small town in California where every day is a new adventure and life is filled with unexpected twists. From the very first rays of sunlight sneaking through my bedroom window, my mind is already buzzing with ideas for my next video. Growing up in a warm, supportive household in a typical American suburb, I always felt the urge to stand out and prove that I wasn't just any teenager. I could be a genuine creator, someone capable of producing content that would captivate even the most skeptical viewers. My passion for YouTube was sparked at an early age when I first watched videos of elaborate pranks pulled by famous creators. Back then, I realized that well-planned jokes and staged scenarios could not only entertain but also attract widespread attention. I admired how adults marveled at the creativity and boldness of kids who dared to push boundaries, and I decided that my channel would be the place where I shared my own innovative ideas and daily escapades. My family always encouraged my ventures, even if mom and dad occasionally expressed concerns about the safety of some pranks. My older sister, Emily, always played an important role, even though more often than not, she ended up as an unwilling participant in my experiments. Emily is a serious, responsible girl who is always focused on her studies and her promising future. Her calm and rational nature stands in stark contrast to my penchant for lighthearted and, at times, reckless experiments. In her eyes, I saw both admiration and a trace of irritation, because she was accustomed to a predictable routine while my antics brought sudden surprises into our everyday life. This very contrast made our relationship fascinating. She was not only a role model for me, but also often the target of pranks that sent shockwaves through our family. My early attempts at content creation were humble, short videos shot on a basic smartphone, experiments in simple editing, and countless hours spent poring over advice from established YouTubers. Every time I uploaded a new video, the likes and comments poured in, giving me valuable feedback and boosting my confidence. In my mind, I already envisioned grand projects where I could put all my skills and ideas to use. One such project was a prank that would not only captivate my online audience but also leave an unforgettable impression on my family. It all began with a simple thought. What if I orchestrated a prank that would be remembered not just by my viewers, but by my entire household? I spent days mulling over every detail, drawing inspiration from the videos of renowned YouTubers, yet determined to create something original and realistic. My plan was to simulate a paranormal event in Emily's room, a place where her penchant for order and logic would make her especially vulnerable to something inexplicable. I knew that if everything went as planned, the shock on her face, followed by the family's stunned reaction, would serve as the ultimate testament to my ingenuity and daring. During those early mornings, while Dad was heading off to work and Mom was busy with her daily chores, I would be at my makeshift studio in the corner of my room. Every minute was dedicated to planning, rehearsing, and refining the details that would transform my idea into a compelling reality. I carefully studied our family's routine to pick the perfect moment when Emily would be alone in her room, ensuring the prank would unfold naturally and catch her completely off guard. In those quiet moments before the day fully began, I immersed myself in the creative process, experimenting with angles, adjusting lighting, and dreaming up every element of the scenario. The anticipation of capturing the genuine shock on Emily's face and the potential for my video to go viral filled me with an adrenaline rush that made every early morning and late night worthwhile. I was driven by the belief that this prank, if executed flawlessly, would not only earn me more subscribers but also prove that I had what it took to become a true content creator in the competitive world of online media. By the time the day unfolded, my mind was abuzz with excitement and determination. Every small detail, from the placement of a stray poster on the wall to the specific way the sunlight filtered into the room, had its place in the plan. I envisioned the video in my head, where the natural beauty of a Californian morning would juxtapose sharply with the eerie, orchestrated events about to unfold in Emily's room. My heart pounded with anticipation as I imagined the mixture of genuine fear, surprise, and eventual understanding that would ripple through our household. This was more than just a prank. It was my declaration to the world that I was ready to take risks, to push boundaries, and to explore the fine line between humor and horror. My ambition to gain fame and the desire to see my creative efforts recognized were deeply intertwined with the love and support of my family. Despite occasional warnings and the inevitable risks, I felt that every challenge was a stepping stone toward my future success as a YouTuber. The early mornings, the countless hours of planning, and the meticulous attention to detail were all testaments to my commitment. I believe that in the end, the shock and awe of that one unforgettable moment would not only be an exhilarating experience for my viewers, but also a turning point in my journey of self-discovery and creative expression. As I stood on the brink of executing my grand idea, every fiber of my being trembled with both excitement and nervous anticipation. I was about to blur the line between reality and fiction in a way that would leave an indelible mark on my family, and hopefully make my channel the next big sensation on YouTube. This was the beginning of an adventure that promised to challenge my limits and redefine what it meant to be a young creator in America. The days leading up to the prank turned into an exhilarating adventure, a period marked by countless experiments, research, and technical adjustments, all aimed at ensuring that my prank would appear utterly authentic. I spared no effort in gathering every piece of equipment I could lay my hands on. From the basic digital camera I'd received for my birthday to a collection of old light bulbs and speakers rescued from the attic, every item was scrutinized for its potential to contribute to the eerie atmosphere I intended to create. I spent hours combing through online forums and watching tutorial videos, determined to discover the optimal lighting and sound effects that would set the perfect mood in Emily's room. My first task was to strategize the arrangement of all these gadgets. I experimented with several configurations for the LED lights, positioning them so that their soft, almost imperceptible glow would gradually shift into something uncanny and unsettling. I played around with angles, distances, and even altered the colors using homemade filters crafted from scraps of translucent plastic. Every test run was recorded meticulously on my camera, allowing me to review the footage and decide which setup produced the most convincing results. My room, which had once been merely a place for homework and video games, transformed into a high-tech laboratory where every minute detail mattered. In parallel with the lighting experiments, I focused intensely on creating the perfect soundscape. I installed small speakers in the corners of the room to project ghostly whispers and faint creaks. Countless hours were spent listening to recordings of creaking floors, soft echoes, and the hushed sound of wind passing through old windows. Using a basic audio editing program, I blended these recordings, ensuring that the transition from everyday background noise to sudden, spine-chilling effects was seamless. My objective was to craft a sound environment so immersive that, as soon as Emily stepped into her room, she would be engulfed by an inexplicable sense of dread. Synchronizing all these elements was a task that required both patience and precision. I ran numerous trial sessions, fine-tuning the timing of each sound and light effect until they worked in perfect harmony. Every detail, from the duration of the flickering lights to the exact moment a creak or whisper would be heard, was carefully noted in my journal. Gradually, a clear blueprint emerged. As soon as Emily entered her room, the system would automatically trigger a subtle pulsation of light, followed by a well-timed burst of sound that would escalate the suspense. I also paid close attention to the room's decor. While Emily's room was always tidy and filled with her personal belongings, it needed a slight transformation to set the stage for the paranormal experience. I discreetly replaced her usual posters with more mysterious images, enigmatic landscapes and shadowy figures that would catch her eye in a fleeting moment. I even draped a few dark, almost spectral curtains in the corners, ensuring that any unexpected movement or shift in light would hint at an unseen presence. Every decorative element was chosen with care, based on my understanding of Emily's habits and her deep-seated need for order and predictability. I knew that any disruption to her normal surroundings would amplify the shock factor. No grand plan is complete without the support of a trusted team. I enlisted the help of two close friends from school, colleagues in my previous video projects, who were more than willing to assist with the technical setup and rehearse the sequence of events. Together, we conducted dry runs of the entire prank, checking that every light and sound cue worked flawlessly. Their suggestions were invaluable. They proposed subtle tweaks, like an extra light behind the door or a faint, ambient track that would crescendo right at the climax. Working side by side, we refined every aspect of the prank until it felt polished and nearly perfect. Every test session was recorded, not just as a way to evaluate technical accuracy but also to gauge the overall atmosphere. I would watch the footage over and over, searching for even the smallest flaw that could break the illusion. With each iteration, I made adjustments. If a particular effect was too subtle, I'd boost it slightly. If it was too overpowering, I'd tone it down. This process of continual refinement transformed the simple act of setting up equipment into a deep dive into the art of suspense and dramatic timing. Throughout these days of relentless preparation, I experienced a roller coaster of emotions. The thrill of creation, the satisfaction of overcoming technical challenges, and even moments of doubt all mingled as I worked tirelessly on the prank. I was not only driven by the desire to impress my online followers, but also by a genuine need to prove to myself that I could orchestrate an event so believable that it would blur the line between reality and illusion. Each test, each minute spent fine-tuning, reinforced my belief that I was on the cusp of creating something truly remarkable. Late nights in the garage-turned laboratory, fueled by pizza and energy drinks, became a ritual. The soft hum of equipment, the shuffling of papers filled with notes and diagrams, and the quiet murmur of my friends discussing potential improvements. All of these elements merged into a singular mission: to make sure that when the moment came, nothing would go awry. I envisioned the final product, a perfectly choreographed sequence of eerie lights and haunting sounds that would leave my sister and the entire family in a state of disbelief. In my heart, I knew that this prank wasn't just about internet fame. It was about pushing the boundaries of what I could create and learning the true responsibility that comes with wielding such power. By the time everything was in place, the preparation phase had transformed from a mere technical challenge into a profound creative journey. I had learned about the subtleties of sound engineering, the art of visual storytelling, and the intricate dance of emotions that even a well-executed prank could provoke. As I carefully packed away my notes and double-checked the final settings on each device, I felt a mix of nervous excitement and cautious optimism. I was ready to step into the next phase of my plan, fully aware that the success of this experiment could change not only my YouTube channel but also my understanding of creativity, responsibility, and the delicate nature of trust. That fateful evening, the air seemed charged with anticipation, as if the entire universe knew that something extraordinary was about to unfold. Every detail had been meticulously arranged. All the equipment was calibrated to perfection. The sound and lighting effects were set to trigger in a carefully choreographed sequence, and Emily's room had been transformed into a stage primed for the unexpected. I waited in the dimly lit hallway, heart pounding as I monitored the live feed from the hidden camera I had installed in the corner of her room. Every step I took was deliberate, every breath measured, as I prepared to launch the prank that would soon blur the boundaries between reality and artifice. Before the main event, I double-checked my remote control setup, discreetly hidden behind the living room couch, ensuring that every timer, every trigger was synchronized with the precision of a seasoned director. The countdown had begun on my devices, each second drawing closer to the moment when Emily would unknowingly step into my carefully constructed nightmare. I recalled the countless rehearsals and late nights spent perfecting each element of the plan, and in that moment, the stakes felt impossibly high. I wasn't just staging a joke. I was crafting a cinematic experience meant to shock and captivate, a moment that would be immortalized on my channel. Then, as if on cue, the first subtle change occurred in Emily's room. The ambient lighting, once warm and familiar, began to pulsate gently, a slow, rhythmic flicker that was almost unnoticeable at first. In the quiet hallway, I heard a faint hum from the speakers I had strategically placed, the sound engineered to mimic the eerie whispers of a presence that wasn't really there. I could feel my pulse quicken as I watched the monitor. Every parameter was working exactly as intended. I knew that, in just a few moments, Emily would open the door and step into a situation that would shatter her sense of normalcy. Emily, completely absorbed in her evening routine, studying at her desk or flipping through one of her textbooks, had no inkling of the drama unfolding just beyond the threshold of her door. The moment she pushed the door open to retrieve a book, the illusion sprang to life. A barely audible rustle, like the whisper of wind through an old building, filled the room. The lights began to flicker with increased intensity, and shadows danced unnaturally along the walls and across the floor. For an instant, Emily paused, her eyes darting around as she tried to locate the source of the uncanny disturbances. In that split second, the carefully orchestrated interplay of light and sound elicited a look of genuine fear, an expression I had imagined countless times during my planning. As the tension mounted, the room transformed into a scene reminiscent of a low-budget horror film, yet every effect was too realistic to dismiss as mere coincidence. The subtle creaking sounds that emerged from hidden speakers, the soft echo that resonated off the walls, and the intermittent flashes of light coalesced into a symphony of the inexplicable. I watched intently as Emily's initial curiosity quickly gave way to alarm. Her steps, once steady, became frantic as she instinctively backed away from what she now perceived as an unseen intruder. In the midst of her rising panic, I triggered the final stage of my plan. A deep, measured voice emanated from a concealed speaker, repeating cryptic phrases in a tone that suggested a message from another realm. The effect was instantaneous. Emily's reaction was visceral. She gasped, her eyes widening in terror as she flung a scattering of textbooks off her desk. Her heart must have been racing as she scrambled for the door, desperate to escape the overwhelming sense of dread that had suddenly descended upon her. From my hidden vantage point, I could see every nuance of her expression, a perfect blend of shock, fear, and disbelief that confirmed the success of my elaborate setup. Meanwhile, the effects continued to unfold. Additional lights flashed unpredictably, creating fleeting silhouettes that seemed to move with a life of their own, further amplifying the surreal atmosphere. Within moments, the commotion could no longer be contained within Emily's room. The unsettling sounds and the flickering lights reached the ears of our parents, who rushed towards the source of the disturbance. In the hallway, a whirlwind of voices and hurried footsteps quickly assembled into a scene of chaos and concern. I sat there, hidden in the shadows, simultaneously exhilarated and anxious, as every second was captured by my camera, the perfect documentation of a moment that was meant to be both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As the lights gradually returned to their normal state and the strange sounds subsided, an eerie silence fell over the house. Emily stood frozen in her room, trying to regain her composure while our parents gathered around her, offering comforting words and questioning what had just transpired. The immediate shock, the surge of panic, it was all so real that, for a fleeting moment, it was impossible to tell where the performance ended and reality began. Yet, deep down, I knew that every element had played its part in this carefully constructed drama. In the ensuing moments, as the family regrouped in the living room, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of emotions. Some were in disbelief, others filled with concern, and still others couldn't help but marvel at the technical brilliance of the setup, even if it had come at a significant emotional cost. I sat silently in the darkness, watching the live playback on my monitor, grappling with a mixture of pride and regret. The shock on Emily's face, the frantic scrambling for safety, and the anxious murmurs of our parents were all evidence of a prank executed with remarkable precision, but also of the unintended consequences of pushing creative boundaries too far. By the end of the night, as the adrenaline began to fade and rationality reasserted itself, the raw footage would serve as a permanent reminder of the delicate interplay between art and responsibility. I realized that what had started as an ambitious bid for online fame had evolved into a profound lesson about the impact of my actions on those I love. The event was more than a simple prank. It was an exploration of the limits of fear, trust, and the fine line that separates performance from reality. As I reviewed every frame and every sound cue in my editing room, I began to understand that the success of a well-planned stunt comes with its own set of responsibilities, a truth that would resonate deeply in the days to follow. In the moments following the crescendo of lights and sounds, our family was plunged into a maelstrom of emotions and revelations that none of us had anticipated. As the room settled into an unsettling silence, our parents, overwhelmed by a cocktail of concern, confusion, and shock, rushed to Emily's side. Dad, James, was the first to arrive, his face a mask of stern worry as he enveloped Emily in a protective embrace. his eyes silently promising that everything would soon be all right. Mom, Linda, exhibited a similar mix of anxiety and disbelief, her gentle voice trembling as she attempted to soothe Emily, even as her mind raced with questions about how a simple prank could escalate into something so unnerving. Emily, still visibly shaken by the unexpected intrusion into her personal space, struggled to find her composure. Her initial tears gave way to a barrage of questions as she demanded an explanation for the bizarre happenings that had shattered the familiar sanctuary of her room. Every rapid heartbeat and every trembling gesture spoke of a deep-seated fear that now clung to her, making it almost impossible for her to reconcile the comforting world she had always known with the nightmarish scene that had unfolded before her eyes. Our parents, though intent on calming her, found themselves at a loss for words as they tried to rationalize an event that defied all logic. Their attempts to dismiss the incident as nothing more than a technical glitch, a malfunction in the wiring, or an unexpected power surge, did little to alleviate the palpable sense of unease that had taken hold. In the kitchen, where the remnants of our family dinner lay scattered on the table, a serious discussion was already taking shape. James, known for his straightforward approach, didn't mince words. "We must understand that pranks like these can cause real harm, not just in terms of physical safety but emotionally as well," he said firmly, directing his gaze at me with a mixture of disappointment and concern. Linda added, with a heavy sigh, that while creative expression is important, there must be limits. "We have always emphasized respect for one another's feelings," she chided softly, her hand resting on Emily's shoulder as she tried to instill a sense of security amidst the chaos. The dinner table, usually a place of jovial conversation and laughter, had transformed into a forum for airing grievances, dissecting the events, and grappling with the consequences of an impulsive act. Outside, the voices of extended family and a few close family friends, guests who had come over for a routine evening gathering, joined the fray. Opinions were sharply divided. Some marveled at the technical prowess and ingenuity behind the setup, arguing that such creative risks were part and parcel of artistic expression in today's digital age. Others, however, condemned the stunt as reckless and unnecessarily cruel, insisting that the prank had crossed a line that should never be breached, especially when it came to the emotional well-being of a loved one. At the heart of the debate was Emily, whose frightened eyes and trembling hands told a story of betrayal, a betrayal inflicted by someone she had trusted implicitly. I sat in the corner of the living room, hidden from the unfolding confrontation, my emotions in turmoil, watching every reaction, every tear, every whispered admonition. I felt a heavy weight settling in my chest. The success of my prank, documented meticulously by the camera, was undeniable. Yet, as I observed the genuine distress etched on Emily's face, I began to understand that there was a price for the thrill of capturing viral content. The once clear-cut lines between art and harm had blurred, leaving me to question whether my pursuit of online fame had come at too great a cost. As the evening wore on and the initial shock slowly gave way to a more reflective mood, the family gathered for an impromptu meeting in the living room. Voices softened as each of us, parents, siblings, and even the visiting relatives, shared our thoughts on what had transpired. Amid the discussions, it became evident that while the technical execution of the prank was impressive, the emotional fallout could not be so easily dismissed. Emily, summoning her inner strength, voiced her feelings of betrayal and confusion, describing in earnest detail how the sudden cascade of eerie sounds and shifting lights had overwhelmed her, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. Her words, raw and unfiltered, resonated with everyone present, prompting even the staunchest supporters of the stunt to reconsider the real cost of a laugh. By the time the night deepened, it was clear that the incident had sparked more than just a temporary commotion. It had ignited a series of introspective conversations about trust, creativity, and the responsibilities that come with using one's talents in the digital age. James and Linda, acknowledging that their roles as parents extended far beyond disciplinary measures, expressed their hope that the evening's events would serve as a turning point. They emphasized that while mistakes are part of growing up, they must be met with accountability and a willingness to learn. "We must all remember that the bond of family is fragile," Linda remarked, her tone both tender and firm. It is our duty to nurture that bond with care and respect. The fallout of the prank left its mark on every one of us. I spent hours later that night rewatching the footage on my laptop, each frame a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between a clever joke and the unintended harm it might cause. The night's events were not merely an isolated prank, but a catalyst for a deeper examination of the values that underpin our family life. I realized that my creative pursuits, no matter how innovative, could never justify the pain of a loved one. The raw emotions, the tears of distress, and the long, reflective conversations that followed all underscored a hard truth. Popularity and viral fame are hollow if built on the suffering of those who matter most. In the aftermath, as dawn approached and the remnants of the night's turmoil began to fade, our family slowly started to piece together a new understanding. Rules were quietly redefined, and a renewed commitment to empathy and mutual respect took root. We emerged from the ordeal with scars that, over time, might heal into lessons of caution and growth. For me, that night became a turning point, a moment when the thrill of creativity collided with the stark realities of responsibility, leaving me to confront the true cost of my ambitions. In the quiet hours after that tumultuous night, when the echoes of fear and confusion had finally begun to subside, every member of our family was left to grapple with the aftermath in our own way. I retreated to my room, diary in hand, meticulously recounting every detail of the incident. The unexpected flicker of lights, the eerie sounds that had filled Emily's room, and the unmistakable terror on her face. As I pored over the recorded footage and scribbled down my thoughts, an overwhelming question began to take shape. Can the pursuit of fame ever justify the pain inflicted on those closest to you? In the silent darkness of my room, I wrestled with the realization that creativity, no matter how innovative or daring, must always be tempered by responsibility and empathy. I found myself reflecting on the early days of my YouTube journey, when I believed that viral success was the ultimate goal. Back then, every view, every comment, was a validation of my talent and a step toward my dreams. But now, as I faced the tangible consequences of my actions, I began to understand that there was an inherent cost to that kind of recognition. The memory of Emily's terrified expression, the shock that rippled through our family, haunted me with each replay of the event. I wondered if I had allowed my ambition to overshadow the simple truth that the well-being of the people I love is far more valuable than any number of likes or subscribers. Emily, for her part, spent long hours in introspection in the days that followed. Although her initial reaction was one of anger and hurt, she gradually came to see the incident as a painful yet instructive lesson. In quiet conversations around the dinner table, she expressed her anguish and confusion about how someone she had trusted so implicitly could subject her to such a harrowing experience. Her words, delivered with a mix of sorrow and reluctant forgiveness, forced me to confront the gravity of my actions. It was clear that while the prank had been executed with technical brilliance, it had also breached a sacred trust. A trust that, once broken, is not easily repaired. Our parents, Linda and James, took the incident as an opportunity to discuss deeper values and the nature of responsibility. They talked about the challenges of parenting in a world where creativity and self-expression often collide with the potential for emotional harm. In long, earnest discussions that lasted well into the night, they acknowledged that while it is important to nurture the innovative spirit in young people, it is equally critical to instill an understanding of compassion and respect. True courage, James remarked during one of our family meetings, lies not in taking reckless risks for the sake of fame, but in having the strength to admit your mistakes and learn from them. Linda, ever the gentle voice of reason, reiterated that every action has consequences, and that the bonds of family must be protected above all else. As I sifted through the memories of that night, each moment a vivid reminder of the fine line between a clever stunt and genuine harm, I began to see the incident as a turning point in my life. It wasn't just about a failed prank or a viral video gone awry. It was about understanding the true meaning of accountability. I started exploring books on psychology and ethics, determined to learn how my actions could affect others. Slowly, I came to appreciate that creative expression, while a powerful tool for personal growth, must always be balanced by a deep sense of empathy. The lessons I gleaned from this experience were as profound as they were painful, urging me to reevaluate my priorities and to strive for a form of self-expression that enriches rather than diminishes the lives of those around me. In the aftermath, our family gathered for long talks, each conversation a step toward healing. Emily, with a newfound resilience, expressed her desire to rebuild the trust that had been fractured by the incident. Her words, though laced with lingering hurt, carried a message of hope, that forgiveness is possible if there is genuine remorse and a willingness to change. I listened intently, realizing that the restoration of our familial bonds would require time, patience, and a commitment to understanding one another's pain. The experience had cast a long shadow over our daily lives, but it also paved the way for a more mature, introspective dialogue about what truly matters. As dawn broke on the days that followed, I felt a quiet determination to make amends, not through elaborate videos or flashy pranks, but through actions that demonstrated genuine care for my family's well-being. I began to see that popularity, fleeting as it might be, would never compare to the lasting value of trust, love, and mutual respect. In my own way, I set out to rebuild the bridges I had inadvertently burned, understanding that the road to redemption was paved with small, sincere acts of kindness and responsibility. In the final analysis, that fateful night served as a profound lesson on the responsibilities inherent in creative expression. I came to understand that the pursuit of recognition must never override the duty to protect the emotional sanctity of those we hold dear. The painful memories of the prank have since evolved into a catalyst for growth, both for me as an aspiring YouTuber and for our entire family. As I continue on my journey, I carry with me the indelible lesson that true success is measured not by the number of views or subscribers, but by the depth of the relationships we nurture and the respect we show to one another. This realization has reshaped my ambitions, guiding me toward a future where creativity is married with compassion, and where every prank, every video, serves not to shock, but to inspire and unite.